let's see. Ouch. Ouch. Breaking news. Hey guys, welcome to this week's Get Ready With Me and TV. So today we're going to be talking about the 4th episode of the final season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So if you're new here, my name is Caitlin. Get Ready With Me and TV is a series I started where I come here, get ready, and I talk about the newest episode of the show that I'm basing the season on. So each season of my series will be based on a different show that is currently on TV. And this one is about the final season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Every week, the look is inspired by something in the episode. It could be inspired by a person. It could be inspired by an item of clothing, by a decor piece. And it's your job to guess what that is. So without further ado, let's get started. The episode starts off with Kendall and Kim Phi, their friend. They're hanging out, and her and Phi both bring their dogs. So Phi's dog is the white and black one, and is it a Dalmatian? It looks like a Dalmatian, but it looks like it's massive. Oh, it is a Dalmatian. I did not know that Dalmatians get that big. Like, it's massive. And anyways, they're both quite large dogs, and they're locking the dogs in just this room, I guess, so that they don't go nuts. I don't think Kim likes dogs either, so I think that played a part in it of why they were going in the room. But anyways, they locked them in, and the dogs kind of went nuts, like trying to get out, and locked themselves in a room. Luckily, there's a window. They get in, they open the door, but I thought that was hilarious. Never heard of a dog locking itself in a room. The biggest thing that really happens in this episode is that Addison Rae is introduced, and we learned last week, like, she was on the next on, so they kind of hinted that there was like going to be like a romantic relationship. We have news though on Kourtney relationship status. She was having dinner with all of her friends, and Addison Rae was one of them. If you don't know who Addison Rae is, she is a famous TikToker. She became friends with Kourtney, and we actually learned this episode how they met, because I was curious about that. So basically, Mason, Kourtney's oldest son, he's almost a teen. He's only a couple years away from being a teenager. I guess watches YouTube videos and is like into that kind of stuff, right? So Kourtney mentions that he liked this YouTuber named David. I don't even know who that is. I think they sent him like a birthday video, this David guy, because Mason really, really liked him. And he mentioned oh, you should come over for lunch or dinner or something. And he knew that Mason really liked Addison Rae. And so he surprised Mason by bringing her. That's how they meet. And then I guess Kourtney and Addison really hit it off. They have been best friends ever since. And I guess they kind of were in quarantine bubble together. They just became really close friends. And they mentioned something about how quarantine was really good for Kourtney. I think she's, ever since quarantine and almost ever since COVID, she seems to be really, really happy and content with her life. And as weird as that sounds, I totally get it. I'm not saying I love COVID. That is the farthest thing from the truth. But I do have to say, when it all started, it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise at the beginning. It really forced, at least myself, but I think a lot of us can say, it kind of forced us all to really focus on our family. You were forced to spend more time with your family, enjoy the little things, relax. 2020 was the absolute worst year of my life, but the absolute best year of my life, all in the same. It was a whirlwind of a year. So anyways, long story short, I can really understand where Kourtney's coming from, and when they're describing how she really seems to become the old Kourtney again after quarantine, I can understand why, because I found a lot of peace and happiness through quarantine, just, with the time I spent with my family. And looking back on the past of seasons, when Kourtney was the most miserable, it was mainly because she felt like she wasn't able to spend enough time with her kids. So when you hear that she's been really back to herself after quarantine, it makes a lot of sense. I definitely think that it's maybe come across as Addison's the reason she's so happy, which maybe it is. She's become really close with Addison. But I think that was kind of looked at as ooh, is she making her so happy because she's in a relationship with them? There was a lot of rumor that they were hooking up. I guess maybe because Kourtney had never really become that close with another friend. It was confirmed this episode they are just friends, really close friends. They really vibe with each other. They're not hooking up. They're not romantically involved. They're just friends. You see a lot of Addison in the episode, which is kind of cool. Like, I have watched her on TikTok, so it is kind of cool to see her. All I had ever really seen was her dances on TikTok. She seems like a really, really nice girl, and she's, you know, she's young, so she's very outgoing, she's fun, but seems like a very sweet girl. So that's basically the majority of what happened in terms of Addison and Kourtney. I want her and Scott to be together, but breaking news. They're not. I don't know if we're gonna see more on the show, because obviously this was filmed back when. They did touch base on it, and they didn't really confirm whether they were interested in getting back together or not. Like, they didn't really talk a whole ton about it. So I'm hoping they're gonna touch base on if anything happened, because they've already brought it up. But I did recently see a picture, I think it was actually posted today. Kourtney's actually in a relationship with Travis Barker. There's been images online where he has a tattoo of her name. So clearly I think they've been together long enough for him to get a tattoo of her name. And Kourtney doesn't seem like the type of person to put out anything about her relationship on social media or really out to the public very often. Like, her last relationship, we knew nothing about really. So it is interesting to see she's posting photos about their relationship already. But as of like real time, like right now, her and Scott are not together. I think there's still rumors as to whether they like tried before she met Travis and started dating Travis. I, again, don't know, because everything like is so good between them, like co-parenting. It would be a bit of a risk to open that door again, because if it doesn't work, you could potentially like ruin that dynamic. I think Scott will always be in love with her though. Like, I think he would always, like, if she were to in 10 years be like, you know what, Scott, I'm in love with you, I want to give this a go, I think he'd do it. But hopefully he finds somebody that like he can move on, and hopefully, you know, this works out for Kourtney. Okay, so moving on, MJ decides that she wants to do a birthday dinner like she does every year. She's talking to Chris about it. She says, you know, every year she goes to this hotel in San Diego with her friends and they just have fun. So she wants to continue it on. I mean, she's older. I think she's been, you know, pretty safe, kind of staying away from everybody because she's at higher risk. She has underlying medical conditions, and with COVID, she's at a higher risk. So I think she's probably missing people. She's probably lonely. And so she's expressing to Chris that she wants to do this. As a concerned daughter, Chris is kind of expressing how she doesn't really want her to go. She doesn't think it's safe. She doesn't think it's really an option. Kourtney talks to MJ because MJ brings it up again to Kourtney, saying how she really wants to go. And Kourtney says she disagrees with her mom because she thinks that, you know, MJ's older. She should be able to enjoy the life that she has, and that there would be a safe way for her to do so. I understand both, you know, sides. I am, if anybody watching knows me, you will know I'm like one of the safest people about COVID. I don't see anybody but my parents and my husband's parents since the beginning of this. And it's tough. And I can only imagine, as being older, how hard that would be. But I can also, like, my mom is higher risk as well. And that's the biggest reason that I am so careful. And I have a child. Long story short, Chris isn't really wanting to do it, and MJ is kind of upset about it. So they actually decide to throw a birthday party at the Malibu house, which is, I think, a great compromise. And what I find interesting is that they all get COVID tested, like rapid tested. So they would have a result whether they're positive or negative in 15 minutes. That would be sweet. Like, that would actually be so cool. MJ still gets her party, and I thought that was really cute. She's literally like the cutest lady ever. I don't know if it's because she has colored hair. She doesn't look 86. I think it's like, I think if she had white hair, she'd look a million times older. I swear, I've told my husband this. I'm like, I'm literally dyeing my hair till the day that I die. I'm not gonna ever have gray hair, but at least I won't look old. That I love Chris and MJ's relationship. The one thing is, like, the Kardashians are so extremely criticized. The one thing that I don't think anybody can deny is that they have such an incredible like family dynamic. Like, yeah, they have fights, there's drama, they can be nasty to each other, especially like the sisters, but they just would do anything for each other, and I just love to see that. The party doesn't happen until like the end of the episode, so going all the way back to like the first bit, finally find out what Jonathan, I was right, remember last week in the like preview, he's like freaking out. I didn't know this, but basically Jonathan calls Kim and is freaking out because he was robbed at gunpoint with his mom. So obviously that's terrifying. So basically, I guess what happens, he kind of explains it over the phone briefly, and then he ends up coming to LA because he's like scared. So he comes to LA to the Malibu house to kind of see Kim. And okay, is his name legally changed to Food God? That's my question. Is it legally Food God? Because it comes up on the show, like, you know how it'll have their names, like who's calling, who's on the phone. The articles too, it said Food God gets robbed. Is his name legally Food God? Because seriously, that would be a little insane. Kim's best friend has legally changed his name to Food God. His legal name is Food God. Insane. Not that that matters. So he gets robbed. I guess he was in New Jersey where his mom lives, and they went to the mall. He got back to his mom's house, and there was somebody like at the end of the driveway or whatever, and he turned around and they were there, and he's, I guess, like they had a gun to his mom's head and they robbed him, which is awful. So that's what he was calling about. And I think obviously number one, he called Kim because it's one of his best friends, but also she was robbed too, like her Paris robbery. Like she would obviously like understand his pain type thing. I feel kind of bad because when I was trying to guess what that could have been about last week, I thought, like, was it something that had gone on in the world? Like maybe it wasn't specifically about them. Like, was it George Floyd or like his murder? Was it the riots afterwards? Did something happen to him then? And then I brought up the fact that Kanye said something about them thinking about aborting North. I mean, it was already out there, so I didn't feel bad bringing it up because I was just trying to guess, but now I feel so awful bringing it up because like clearly she would not want, like I don't know, like I see them as people. I know not all of you maybe do, nor that I said that. That's basically what happened with that whole situation. So I guess Jonathan now is going to have like full-time security, which is sad, but people are awful human beings. So that's what I have come to the conclusion of the last year and a bit, that just this world sucks and there are nasty, nasty, nasty people out there. So yeah. Oh, and the watch was $250,000. Like it blows my mind that that stuff exists. Even if I had money like that, I don't think I would want to, let alone actually be able to spend that money on something like jewelry. But I guess when you're rich like that and you have loads of money, like I guess maybe I would. What you could do with that money? Do you know how much makeup you could buy with $250,000? No, I would definitely buy a house. First thing, hands down, I would buy a house. And then if I had a house, I'd buy a car. And if I had a car, I would invest it. I don't know. I guess if you have like millions of dollars, do you even need to invest money? I don't know. Probably not. So then after the whole robbery situation, Kim kind of gets like anxious again about remembering how she felt after her robbery, which understandable. Could you ever really get fully over that? I don't know. You would never forget, that's for sure. So I guess she must have already had the idea in her head to like just randomly be like, you know what? I think I need a bunker. Her and Chloe decide to look into getting a bunker. So they speak to this guy that they found online. She's like, Kim is genuinely interested in investing in a bunker for their family. You know what? 2020, not the most wild idea to get a bunker. All the stuff that's happened, you know what? I'd do it too if I had the money, probably. They go into this bunker and they're like doing a trial run. She's like, I need to test it out because if I'm gonna invest in it, like they must be so much money, especially he was talking about how he had, the guy, I mean, that sold them. He was talking about how he had sold a bunker that was for 40 people. I guess if you're gonna have a bunker, it's probably gonna be for your whole entire family. Imagine being in a bunker with 40 people. Somebody would be dead anyways, 100%. Like somebody would be dead. I feel like I would definitely just have to kill somebody if I was inside this small space with 40 people. My family especially. So they go inside this bunker. Chloe like puts the food down because this alarm starts to go off. And Kim's like, we have to like play this off like it's like real life, like we're actually in an emergency. It won't open the door back up for the food. I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna be inside this bunker for however many hours they were inside this bunker, I would be opening that door back up for that food, 100%. I don't care who says otherwise. It would be happening. You know, we can start this whole emergency like test run once I get my food inside this bunker. Thank you very much. They left the food outside. That blew my mind. It's like getting really hot. They're in there for hours, so it's like boring. And Chloe's like done with the idea. They're playing cards and Chloe's like, really? Like if we were gonna die, this is how you wanna go out? Like sitting on the floor of a bunker, miserable, and with your kids, you'd be going insane. Kim's like, yeah, I wanna be alive, but I definitely don't wanna live in a bunker. So she passes on the idea. So Chloe goes and hangs out with Addison and Courtney. I think it was still kind of hinting the idea that they're like hooking up or like they're still trying to figure out what was going on between them. So they decide to invite Addison over for lunch, not tell Courtney. And I think Addison assumed Courtney would be there, but she wasn't. And so they kind of like interrogated her and they were just asking her a bunch of questions and like just trying to figure out like what's going on because they didn't really know her that well at that point. You know how a parent would like sit the daughter's boyfriend down and ask him a bunch of questions? Like that's almost how it seemed. And they flat out kind of brought up the fact that they for a hot second thought that they maybe were hooking up. And Addison was like, oh, I had no idea that that was the impression that was given off. So that's when it was confirmed that they weren't. Chloe said like, she's a really sweet girl. Like, and Kim was saying she's very genuine. And so the family like likes her now. They're not really like questioning the relationship anymore. Another thing is we see Rob again on this episode, which surprised me. He's obviously lost weight. He looks great. He looks like he's in a better like place in his life. They haven't really talked about him. He's just kind of been there, but it is kind of cool to see that he's on. And I think that that's really cool that he's on because it's the last season. So if they never kind of brought it up again, I think people would have always wondered like, is he okay? So it's kind of cool to see he's lost weight. He's looking physically healthier, mentally healthier. He's on the show. It's kind of cool to see that. And I totally forgot like Rob's humor. So they're talking about MJ and like how to make her birthday special. They decide to have Rick Ross, the jazz musician, MJ and her friends would always go see when they would go to the hotel. And so Chris decided to surprise her by having him come to the birthday party. Rob's like, yeah, you know what you could do to make her birthday special? Like get her a guy for the night, you know? Like set her up. Like, okay, Rob, relax.
Any other ideas for MJ's birthday?
You should try getting her like a guy for the night, like to hook up with. She might be down. Get her going.
You have a very interesting sense of humor.
It's always been like his humor on the show. Like I did miss the whole like family dynamic. I like when everybody's on the show. The last really big thing that happens on the episode is that they have the party. So MJ has like a great time. She absolutely loves her party. And I thought it was so cute that they did that. That's basically the majority of what happens on the show. Not really much happened this episode. I feel like this season, I was so pumped to base this series, the first season of the series on this, like this final season of Kardashians. Because number one, like it's the final season, but also like the Kardashians have a lot of cosmetic lines. I thought maybe people would be interested in makeup if they're interested in the Kardashians, but it hasn't been the most exciting season so far. I'm hoping there's lots of drama to come. At the end of the episode, they have the next on, which does make the next episode look kind of more exciting. So basically, Chris gets a call from Caitlyn, which we had heard there's rumors that Caitlyn will be on this season. Chris says she was looking for something to do with her career. I don't really understand what that means. I don't know what Caitlyn wants from Chris. And Chris says, like, do I even want to, like, kind of go down that road? Because obviously there's some bad blood there, right? I think things had been kind of forgotten, maybe forgiven, but who knows, like, I don't know if I would want to go down that road. Curious to see what that brings. I think that's an exciting, you know, thing that's gonna happen. Okay, this could just ruin my look. Also, Chloe and Tristan are UFO watching. So I know from past seasons of this show that Chloe is like into that kind of stuff. The supernatural, like I think she believes in it. Does Tristan also, or is he just entertaining it because he like obviously wants to be with her? Will we learn more about her relationship? I personally think they're together. And I just think she doesn't want to put it out there because of all the ridicule that she's gotten. So Chloe recently put out on Instagram. So she posted just to show off, and she is looking, let me tell you, she is looking in shape. She's looking great, and you can tell she's really worked hard. I mean, on the show, she's always worked out really hard, really regularly. Like, it seems to be an important part of her life. So I definitely, like, good for her. She looks absolutely unreal. There's a photo of her, which, okay, let me just put out there, number one, that she still looks unreal in this photo. And if anybody is body shaming her for this photo, it is sickening. Like, she looks incredible in both photos. Anyway, so she wrote, the photo that was posted this week is beautiful, but as someone who has struggled with body image her whole life, when someone has taken a photo of you that isn't flattering in bad lighting or doesn't capture your body the way it is after working so hard to get it to this point, and then shares it to the world, you should have every right to ask for it not to be shared, regardless of who you are. In truth, the pressure, constant ridicule, and judgment my entire life to be perfect and to meet other standards of how I should look has been too much to bear. Chloe is the fat sister. Chloe is the ugly sister. Her dad must not be her real dad because she looks so different. The only way she could have lost the weight must be from surgery. Oh, but who cares how she feels because she grew up in a life of privilege. She also is on a reality show, so she signed up for all of this. I'm of course not asking for sympathy, but I'm asking to be acknowledged for being human. I am not perfect, but I promise you that I try every day to live my life as honestly as possible with empathy and kindness. It doesn't mean that I have not made mistakes, but I'm not going to lie, it's almost unbearable trying to live up to the impossible standards that the public have set for me. For over a decade now in photos, every single flaw and imperfection has been micro-analyzed and made fun of to the smallest detail, and I'm reminded of them every day by the world. And when I take that criticism to use as motivation to get myself in the best shape of my life and to even help others with the same struggles, I am told I could not have done it through hard work. I must have paid for it. You never quite get used to being judged and pulled apart and told how unattractive one is. But I will say, if you hear anything enough, then you start to believe it. This is an example of how I have been conditioned to feel that I am not beautiful enough just being me. I love a good filter, good lighting, and an edit here and there. The same way I throw on some makeup, get my nails done, or wear a pair of heels to present myself to the world the way I want to be seen, and it's exactly what I will continue to do unapologetically. My body, my image, and how I choose to look, and what I want to share is my choice. It's not for anyone to decide or judge what is acceptable or not anymore. And then she goes on to encourage people, if you feel pressured, not feeling good enough how you are. She's told by, every day I'm told by my family and friends who love me that I'm beautiful, but I know it needs to be believed from within. We're all unique and perfect in our own way, whichever way one chooses to be seen. I've realized that we cannot continue to live life trying to fit into the perfect mold of what others have set for us. Just do you and make sure your heart is happy. I think that's actually incredible, and I really, really feel sorry for her. If you hold your phone down here and take a picture, you're gonna look a lot heavier than if you hold your phone up here. If you have poor lighting, it's going to emphasize everything on your face that you don't want people to see. If you go into good lighting, it's gonna smooth out your skin and make you look more beautiful. So I think that we need to like stop judging people. Like I actually feel so bad for her, the fact that she had to put that out there. I do think that we need to be better. Like who cares what somebody looks like? And if it's because you're insecure about yourself, then I think that that says more about you than it says the person you're judging. So yeah, I just thought I would share that with you guys if you haven't seen it, because that made me feel really sad for her. Last thing in the next on, Courtney says that she was on the phone for 2 hours with her team to check in on them and see how everyone was doing. And they all were like telling her a bunch of drama about each other. What team is she referring to? I don't know. Like, is it going to be her Push team? And like, what drama? Like craziness. This next on, like the preview for next week, was probably the most exciting out of all of them. So I'm really excited to see what's going on with that. So yes, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's look. If you didn't notice the products that were put up here in the corner so you knew what I was using, they're also listed below. I also link all the brushes that I'm using since I'm not actually talking about what I'm doing. I will give you a hint. I was using a person as inspiration, not like an item of clothing or anything like the last few times. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Last week's look, the tie-dye look, was inspired by Chloe's tie-dye shirt, if you didn't guess. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Give this video a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for upcoming videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.